All right, everybody, how's it going? It is Tuesday, December 24th, 2024, and of course, we're one day away from Christmas, but, more importantly, the more exciting thing of this week is that we're entering week 17 of the NFL. Usually before the last 2 years, this was like the end of the season. This was the final week of the regular year, but however, now they do 18, so now we have another week of pick'em after this, so pretty cool. But again, Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate. Happy holidays if you don't, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, here we are. We're on week 17 now. It's Christmas Eve, so that's always kind of fun. So we have 16 games to go over. All games all over the week too. Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So we're pretty busy with Monday as well. So pretty much football all week. So that's pretty exciting. Before we jump into it, of course, we went 10-6 last week. Not exactly the best record, not exactly the worst, but kind of just middle of the road. We didn't really see the upsets too well. Kind of picked a few games bad. It happens. We've been mostly good. So before we jump into it, make sure you leave a like, leave your comments down below with your picks, with your thoughts, how you think the video's doing, how you're doing this year, all those kind of fun things as we're sort of starting to wrap up the season and kind of get towards the end of pick'em. Let's see who's doing the best, right? That about wraps that up. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. All the YouTube stuff, all of it helps the video out, makes it do better, and generally does help it perform a little stronger. Our pick'em record, I think we're at 150 something, and let's see, 10-6, 157-83. Doing really good. Hopefully we avoid the 100 loss mark, which would be really great. All we have to do is basically not fumble the ball, the next 2 weeks. So here's to a hopeful good end of the year. I don't know why this is still here. And Wednesday, Christmas football. We have at 1 o'clock Eastern on Christmas Day, the new standard of the NFL, I suppose. I'm pretty sure the people at the NBA are probably pretty pissed about this. But at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard, we have one of the best games of the weekend in the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites with an over-under of 44.5. So the reason I'm going with KC is it's a super short week, right? They have to play on Wednesday, not Thursday. And you're dealing with the Steelers team that was dealing with some injuries. I'm not really sure if they're going to have Pickens quite yet. They're kind of trending towards having him. We're not sure what's going on with TJ Watt. So, a lot less time for the injuries to possibly get better and come back and be a part of the game here. We're also looking at something with the Chiefs where it's like they were pretty healthy. They ended that game pretty much in good shape. They should be able to go. Mahomes looked good. The offense looked pretty sharp against the Texans. They looked sharp on defense. Overall, they just looked really good. Their defense has been playing well all year. Their offense is finally starting to kick up and get going. Whereas with the Steelers, things kind of seem like they're at a standstill. They actually lost to the Ravens, a team they usually beat. Again, a couple injuries has kind of tanked this team. We'll see if getting Pickens back potentially is a big help for the offense, but is the defense kind of in a rough shape after the last couple weeks? So right now, with the way things look, you kind of have to lean towards the Chiefs, but Pittsburgh could make some noise. All right, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. The other Christmas game, we have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Houston Texans. It's kind of weird how both these teams just kind of flipped. Instead of Kansas City versus Texans and the Ravens versus Steelers, now it's Chiefs versus Steelers, Ravens versus Texans. Kind of fun. Ravens are favored by 5.5 with an over-under of 46.5. Both of these teams are pretty well safe into the playoff situation. I think the Ravens have a playoff spot. If not, they're very close. And the Texans obviously have won the AFC South. They have very little to play for, and they may take it easy here in this game, considering they just lost Tank Dell for another injury for probably a considerable amount of time with the dislocated kneecap and a torn ACL and other damage. So again, we may see the Texans take it a little bit easy to avoid injury, where we may see the Ravens, who may be very inspired after a Steelers loss, to go out there and potentially try to take a division lead, get to 11-5, potentially get closer and closer to stealing the division from the Steelers, which is the division the Steelers have led all year. So that'd be pretty interesting. Again, I just think the Ravens have been playing great offense. They've been running over everyone's defense lately. Their defense is starting to play a little bit better each week. It's been, it started off bad, but it's getting better and better and better. So it should be able to contain a pretty explosive Texans offense. And I think the Ravens offensively will be able to score on the Texans defense with very little resistance, it feels like. Kansas City was kind of like a hot knife through most of the game. So I like the Ravens. Should be a fun day of Christmas, though. Thursday football. The Seattle Seahawks take on the Chicago Bears. Seahawks are 3.5-point favorites, and their playoff chances are fading away rapidly. With an over/under of 43.5. Both teams coming off tough losses. Seahawks kind of just fell apart at the end of the game there, and the Bears never really had a prayer in that game against Detroit. So I don't know. I like Seattle here. I think Chicago's kind of thrown away the season. I don't really think they're trying that hard anymore. I think they're kind of discouraged. They have a bunch of injuries. Their defense isn't trying that hard. Their offense looks pretty lost and out of it. Things just seem a little bit rough for the Bears. So against a team that still has a little bit to play for, may come out just swinging, trying to avenge a couple tough losses in a row. They need to kind of win to save their season. So I can imagine a team that's played good offense this year, that doesn't really play much defense this year, should be able to overcome a team that's pretty much thrown in the towel. So I like the Seahawks over the Bears. Kind of a who gives a shit game, though, sadly. Here's one of the games of the year. The 1 o'clock game on Saturday. There's Saturday football now. The Los Angeles Chargers head to New England to take on the Patriots. Chargers are 4.5-point favorites with an over/under of 43.5. Chargers had a big win versus the Broncos. Patriots almost upset the Bills. It was really close. Would I be shocked if the Patriots upset the Chargers? No, because we almost always seem to beat this team. Very rarely do the Patriots lose to the Chargers. It happens, but it's rare. However, with the way things are going, the Patriots seem to be clearly tanking. They're kind of making decisions in the game that kind of lean towards just losing the games out. Chargers play pretty good offense. They should be able to score on this Patriots defense that's been really inconsistent. The Patriots offense should be able to put some points up, but again, ultimately they kind of fall short. It's not because of Drake May. It's just limited offensive line ability, limited receiver ability, and that's just kind of a recipe for disaster. Chargers should win this game and kind of get themselves into the playoffs, I think. What do we got now? This one? Ooh. It's a really top-heavy week. 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard, the Broncos take on the Bengals. This is a game with huge playoff implications because if Denver wins, they clinch a playoff spot just like the Chargers, and that would secure the AFC playoffs, eliminating the Bengals, Colts, and Dolphins officially. But I think the Bengals will go ahead and take this game. I don't really like rookies on the road in big games like this. We kind of seen what happened with Bo Nix, a little bit of a collapse in that game against the Chargers. Didn't really play the best second half when the Chargers kind of revved it up a little bit. And again, I think the Bengals will be able to score on the Broncos defense. That's kind of pretty sure to happen. The Bengals are pretty good at scoring, one of the best offenses in the league. Going up against a team that's led by a rookie quarterback, I always dislike that situation quite a bit. Especially because like we just kind of seen Bo Nix and them go head to head in a kind of a high scoring shootout-ish type of game, and they didn't come away with like the win. And if the Broncos defense isn't exactly perfect and plays more like they did against the Chargers, then the Bengals should be able to score and kind of score at will. And I don't know if the Broncos have the offense to score like that because of the rookie quarterback, even with the Bengals kind of shit tier defense. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, So I'm kind of leaning towards the Bengals here in what should be a really fun, exciting game. Pretty high scoring, kind of a shootout, kind of like the Chargers Broncos game that we seen last Thursday. So expect a good one. I like Cincinnati here. All right, the final game of the Saturday nightcap will be the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Rams are 5.5-point favorites with an over/under of 48.5. I like the Rams here. I think the Cardinals season was ended by the Panthers last week. I think that's kind of a bad look when you lose to a team like the Panthers who are out there trying to spoil and you let yourself get spoiled. Now I know the Cardinals could be out there trying to play spoiler, trying to mess with the team, trying to get at the Rams. But I think because of the way the Rams have been playing defense, holding teams to under 10 points, and I think since the Bills game, their defense has been very, very good. So I kind of like that. I think they'll be able to contain the Cardinals' kind of explosive, inconsistently explosive offense. I think that's a good way to describe it. So I think the Rams will be able to shut that down. I think they'll be able to score on the Cardinals defense. That's not that great. It's only really looked good against the Patriots. And even then it was like, I think the Rams should be able to take this game quite easy. Should be able to get to 10-6 and clinch the division. Seattle has 7 losses, so they're still theoretically in there, but I like the Rams here. All right, 1 o'clock. The Indianapolis Colts take on the New York Giants. Colts are 7.5-point favorites with an over-under of 40.5. I almost wanted to skip talking about this game. However, I felt like that would be kind of rude. Colts do still have a shot at the playoffs, and I think I'm going to give them the win here, putting them to 8-8 with the Colts or with the Bengals and potentially the Dolphins later. I do think the Colts win this game. Giants are pretty bad. They don't really play good defense. They don't really play good offense. They're not trying to win games. They're clearly in the tank. So give me the Colts in a beatdown of the New York Giants. Kind of a similar game here. New York Jets take on the Buffalo Bills. Bills are 9.5-point favorites with an over-under of 46.5. I think the Bills are still alive for the 1 seed, so they still have stuff to play for here. Jets got nothing. They're going to try to play spoiler, but they weren't even able to spoil the Rams. Offense looks pretty dead again, only scoring 9 against the Rams. They'll probably be able to score against the Bills because, the Bills defense hasn't been great. However, I don't really think the Jets have the offense to hang in the game, nor do I think that Buffalo's defense will be bad enough to give up enough points. I think the Bills defense can shut the Jets down to some extent. Feels like a mismatch. One team has a lot going, one team doesn't. Give me the Jets. Oh boy, big timer here. Titans versus the Jaguars, big time game. Jaguars are favored by 1.5. Over under 40.5. Two teams playing. Both teams got a quarterback, some running backs, some wide receivers, some tight ends, some linemen, some guys on defense, some special teams players, coaches, and they're going to play some football. And that's going to be that game. It's a football game. Give me the Titans. Jesus. Oh boy, another real fun one. Raiders versus Saints. Saints are favored by 1.5 points with an over under of 38.5. So looking at this one, I'm not really sure why they'd pick the Saints, especially because they just got shut out. Short week, shutout. Raiders looked okay against the Jaguars. I don't know. I'm gonna go Raiders. All right, here's actually a game we're talking about. Carolina Panthers take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bucks are 7.5-point favorites with an over/under of 49.5. Carolina's going to keep this really close, but ultimately I think that Tampa Bay is a little bit too good to lose to the Panthers. I think they played a bad game versus the Cowboys. I think they got caught kind of looking here, not looking ahead to play the Panthers, but I think they came in thinking they were just going to win the game because Dallas has played bad defense at home. Their offense has been hit and miss. I think they got kind of caught by the offense a little bit too. Whereas Tampa Bay kind of knows what Carolina can do. They're aware of Bryce Young. They know that they've been playing well. You can't really get caught off guard here. But again, if you're Tampa Bay, you want to take this game serious because, again, Carolina's been pushing teams to the brink, almost been beating a bunch of good teams. However, they had their good game. They finally won the game. And I think they're going to kind of fall back to the medium a little bit. I don't know. Tampa should win this game. They play better defense. They should be able to contain that offense. Their defense should be able to contain the Panthers' limited ability offense. So take that as a weird game for the Bucks. Cowboys are a tough team at home, usually, except for this year. I'll go Tampa. They should win. Should being the key word. The Dallas Cowboys take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are 9.5-point favorites with an over/under of 43.5. Like we just said, Dallas won. Eagles lost a crazy game in which they were knocked out of the 1-seed contention, especially if Detroit keeps winning. So I believe if Detroit wins this weekend, they lock up the 1 seed and the NFC North if Minnesota loses. So Eagles got to keep winning to stay alive. So they have something to fight for here. Plus, they still haven't clinched the NFC East, which is something they're going to be fighting for. They're going to be at home against kind of a Dallas team that's led by Cooper Rush. So their defense should be able to kind of shut down the Cowboys and everything that they bring to the table. Again, I just don't really see like the current Cowboys being able to come into Philadelphia with the team they have and being able to shut down the Eagles offense, being able to score on their defense very consistently, especially after a team that's going to be kind of jacked up, a little bit pissed off that they just lost, just pissed off that they kind of maybe just lost the 1 seed. So expect a really good game out of the Eagles where they come out kind of on fire. Sunday, 4 p.m. football. We don't have many games left. The Miami Dolphins take on the Cleveland Browns. Dolphins are 6.5 point favorites with an over/under of 40.5. This could be a really cold, rainy, shitty game, snowy game potentially, just bad weather. And because of that, I don't really like the Dolphins in this game. I don't think they play well in the cold. I don't think they play well outside in general. I don't think they play the best in December, though they beat the 49ers, and that was impressive. And I know the Browns have been playing bad football, but this is my upset pick of the weekend, I suppose. Just got a feeling, really good gut feeling about this one. Yeah, I just feel like they're going to lose. I feel like the Dolphins offense isn't set to play in a place like Cleveland. This was a game that even Miami fans before the season looked at and went, fuck. And it was before even any situation could be added to it. It was just like, damn, that Green Bay game and that Cleveland game late in the season outside, bullshit. You know what I mean? Because this is like a late December game outside. Miami shouldn't be able to win. If they do, they may make the playoffs on some magic shit. But as it currently stands, I'm going to go with the Browns in a crazy upset. Game of the week. Green Bay Packers take on the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are 1.5 point favorites with an over/under of 48.5. Vikings won the first matchup between these two teams, so that's kind of leaning towards Green Bay. I think that was the first game Love came back from injury, or it was one of those situations where it was really early in his return. The Packers are a very different team since then. Again, their offense has kind of clicked in. They're playing pretty good now. Love has kind of calmed down on all the turnovers. They're playing sharp football. Green Bay is. They've been very good. They got the first shutout of the year. Their defense has been good. Outside of the game against Detroit, they've been virtually unstoppable this year. Again, 3 of their losses have come twice to Detroit and once to Minnesota. So not many teams really beat Green Bay. Minnesota got their win earlier, so it's kind of leaning towards the split already. Hard to beat a team twice, especially when you're very even. However, Minnesota's been great. It's really hard to take anything away from them, right? One of the better offenses this year. They know how to. They can play in a close game. They're very comfortable in close one-score games. They don't seem to panic. They never seem to get. They don't let themselves get too far ahead of themselves. They kind of stay in the moment, which is big. It allows you not to choke and kind of lose the game because you're making mistakes. But yeah, I just feel like this is one of them series where it's almost always a split. And it's almost always, usually it's home, but this year it looks like they're going to trade home wins. Yeah, I really like the way the Packers defense has been playing. They should actually get some guys back this week as well, which is pretty helpful. They kind of need them. Hopefully Jair Alexander is able to go. That'll be really big for them. Yeah, we'll see. I like the Packers here because, again, I think the Packers also have a very strong history of sort of screwing the Vikings over. I know that kind of seems like a silly reason to pick a team, but it's like it's actually impressive since the 90s how often the Packers have kind of ruined a Vikings season or, just made it more complicated anyway. So, yeah, I like the Packers here. Again, would I be surprised if they lose? No, Minnesota's been playing great. They've been one of the best teams in the league this year. So I just think Green Bay takes this one. Just more impressed with how Green Bay's played recently than the Vikings, even though they're both winning. It's just, the Atlanta Commanders take on the Washington Commanders. Commanders are 4.5 point favorites with an over/under of 47.5. Big game for both teams. If the Falcons can win this game, they can keep themselves in first place in the NFC South. And if the Washington Commanders can win this game, things are looking pretty good. They have a shot at the division still if the Eagles lose, or I suppose, and maybe they could. I think they're in the playoffs as a wild card. If not, this is the game that'll clinch it, and I think they'll win. I think the Falcons had a very good break playing a team like the Giants last week in Michael Penix's debut, even though the offense did kind of look a little bit stalled out. It didn't look the greatest, very crispy. It was their debut, so you kind of can give it a mulligan. However, I think playing a team like Washington's quite the step up. I think defensively, you're dealing with a much better team. I think offensively, a way, way, way better team. And yeah, we'll see how the Falcons defense can kind of deal with the Commanders offense. It's kind of a unique looking offense. It's kind of similar to what the Ravens do. I don't know. I think when you beat a team like the Eagles as the Commanders, when you go play the Falcons, that should be a game you can manage. I think it's easy to see how, okay, the Commanders can score against a good defense like the Eagles. They'll be able to score against the Falcons kind of mid-tier defense, and we're not really sure how the offense of the Falcons are going to look when they scored 2 or 3 touchdowns on defense. Maybe only 2, but I think the Commanders defense can shut down a second start for a rookie. Should be a good game though. Should be a really, really good game. When 2 weeks ago it didn't look great, now it looks really good. So, yeah. Plus, if the Buccaneers win, it puts a lot more pressure on the Falcons and a rookie quarterback. So we'll see how they handle that. So, alrighty. This is a good one. I believe this is the last Monday Night Football game of the year, unless they do one on Week 18 now, which I don't think they do. The Detroit Lions take on the San Francisco 49ers. Lions are favored by 3.5 with an over-under of 50.5. Yeah, revenge game from the NFC Championship game last year, right? Lions coming back to Levi Stadium, whatever they call it now, to play the 49ers once again. I know the 49ers are in a dire strait with injuries. Everybody's banged up. All their best players are pretty much done, banged up, not playing anymore, kind of calling it for the season. Or if they are, they're kind of not playing the hardest, as you can see by them losing by 12 to the Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins in December. Yeah, so the Lions are going to be coming in. They've already said they're going to be playing this game with fury and fire because they want to win this game very bad. They sort of have to, because again, if Minnesota loses, they win the division, they win the 1 seed, and they kind of have to win out, right? In order to win the division and win the 1 seed, even if Minnesota wins out or wins the next game, right? They still got to win, then they got to beat Minnesota. So Detroit's going to be playing this like a playoff game with some intensity, with some revenge on their mind. Whereas San Francisco may be approaching this as like, maybe we can play spoiler, but we also don't want anyone to get hurt for next year. A bunch of the players are probably checked out because, again, their season ended 2 weeks ago. Lions should be able to come in and win this game. Again, they play great offense. They should be able to score on a banged up Niners defense. Defensively, the 49ers may be able to hang in this game because of the fact that Lions don't play the best defense, because everyone's hurt. However, if they can kind of put on a performance like they did against the Bears, they should be able to contain the 49ers, especially because they played them before. They're kind of used to what they can do. They're not going to be like tricked by anything. So I like the Lions here. They should be able to win. They should be able to wrap things up here, especially if the Vikings lose like we think. Yeah. But that about wraps it up here. Hopefully you enjoyed our Week 16 NFL picks, or Week 17 NFL picks video. Jeez, it's so sad that it's over. I can't believe it. What do you think? What do you guys think about that? We're already in Week 17, entering the playoffs in 2 weeks. Be the wild card weekend before we even know it. I can't believe it. But either way, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you have a good rest of your morning, mid-afternoon, midday, mid-afternoon, that time between like 7 and 8 o'clock where it's kind of light in the summertime, but kind of dark in the summertime. It's like, what do you call that? I don't know. Whenever you listen, have a good one. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your time. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays and all that stuff. Yeah, that's Week 17 down the drain, in the tube, in the dumps. So thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your whatever. Peace out. Go Lions. Go Tigers. And of course, as always, go Patriots, especially Drake May. Yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Peace.